hridaya kuhar madhye kevalam brahmamatram ayahamahmiti sakshat atmarupena bhati hridhi vishamanasat swam chinvata machyata va pavanachalanarodhat atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam. Jai Arunachala. We had to be talking about self-inquiry, and then there were some questions and answers. So the question asked was by a devotee, how to really catch the ego, the I, the small I, which veils, which covers, obscures, hides my ultimate self, my reality. How to recognize this ego, the small I, that hides and veils, covers my clarity about the self that I seek. That was a question. Can we talk about it? And this limited self, this ego G, who is blessed to be the instrument to converse on this, responded to it, which would follow soon after this comment about how to catch the ego. And the point being made there was that ego is multifarious, millions and millions of permutation combinations when we really begin to look at our limited self. And that is attached to my stature, where I live, where I was brought up, what my education is, what my qualifications are, how successful I am, stature in my family, the stature in the society, etc., 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 etc. And pop comes the question, what about those who don't have that much of success or are really struggling? Yes, they don't have that kind of ego, but they also would have many other kinds of egos. If we were to coin the term egos, meaning various kinds of permutation combinations of my ego. It's not just one ego. And it should be our endeavor as devotees to constantly look at our ego. As Bhagavan Ramana told us again and again, watch your thoughts. Watching my thought is watching my ego. Because my thought is nothing but the mind. Mind is nothing but the ego. And we all know that. So even in whatever I'm doing, even when I'm doing a good deed, I have to watch that my ego is attached to it, and I should mitigate. I should try and dwarf it. I should try and meditate upon not letting that ego continue to rise, such as my doing something good in my neighborhood, or me providing food to somebody, or me being spiritually recognized as living and doing something good for a temple or an ashram. And I have to constantly watch it because that continues to rise. And spiritual ego is also very vicious. So that's the question being asked, and we are going to get into that and follow up with another comment. So with that submission, that my education, my stature, my family also has ego attached to it. Everything about me has an ego lurking behind it. Oh, I'm very educated. And I may not be demonstrating it on a daily basis. I'm not saying that. I could be a very humble man, and I could be a very, very conscious person in the sense of being cognizant about how my ego keeps rising again and again throughout the day, hundreds of times, thousands of times every day. And I must watch it. I shouldn't condemn it. I don't have to talk about it. I must watch it. If I watch it, that power of my guru helps me to subside it. So let's get into the dialogue.
Bandhuji, I think it's a wonderful satsang today. But it's still like there are some confusion about the when we talk about the ego. When we talk about the ego, I probably it is also focus on the ego. Probably we have the ego, but we can't find out is that a ego or not. I mean, that is like a hiding ego. It could be. In the beginning, it seems not ego, but the later it comes as a ego, or it hides somewhere within us, and that makes us very difficult to see the true self. Why not we talk about the nature of ego and in a different angle? How the ego, how we carry our ego in a different way, and we get still confused and we think that is not ego, but at the end that can be the ego.
Okay, that's thank you. Thank you for
The
bringing
type
that.
of ego, like how the nature of ego.
Sure, sure. So we have talked about it many times in the past, maybe not with Nepal, but the way for practically to look at our ego is whatever I do, whenever I do, whether I'm a writer, whether I'm a scientist, whether I'm a doctor, subconsciously, unconsciously, I take credit for doing those things. Even when I'm a devotee of non-duality, a devotee of Advaita Vedanta, whether it be of Ramana Maharshi or any other guru, or I'm very much into Shankaracharya's teachings, or I read the Puranas and I'm clear about it. Yet, whatever I say, whatever I do, meaning my conduct in my society, I'm always subconsciously recognizing that I did this because of my knowledge or my money or my effort or my time or my goodness, my willingness. I'm the provider. I will look after this person or look after that person. All that is my ego. When I get upset with somebody, that is my ego. Otherwise, I wouldn't be upset. So every reaction, positive or negative, is ego. That's why Bhagwan at one point said to somebody, there's no point discussing about the weather. It's way beyond your control. And somewhere in the Shastras also says, don't ever talk about the weather being too hot or too cold, but we do that. So that's ego. Then where I live, where I'm brought up, my family, my education, and my success of my professional success, my spiritual ego is also very, very big and vicious. And there are gods who walk around who are actually not that pure. And we know some of them, and there will always be more of those kinds who would become very popular, very big names. So, Narayanji, the simplest answer is to look at my own conduct every day and know even wanting to do something good is not in my hands. Sometimes, let's say you decide to go and play a big role in a local orphanage in the city you live in, but still you may not be able to do much, or they may not, something may go wrong and they might say, no, we don't need it. Or you may be condemned for doing something that you actually did not intend to do. And that could be your prarabdha. But that is a time to see that, oh, my ego was telling me that I would be able to accomplish this good time. I'm talking about everything coming from the heart, everything coming as a good intent and yet not happening, also is a reflection about, oh, this is my prarabdha. And I thought I would definitely be able to walk. How could it be difficult for me? I could have accomplished it. I could have done it. I didn't have. Maybe I even talked to you at that time later on, after you met me. And by the way, for the group, Narayanji met me because he heard Ramana devotee or something and connected with me. That's how these satsangs started. So, so I was immediately cognizant of the fact that it was not destined for me to be able to help these boys. Because you asked a pertinent specific question, so I'm giving as a devotee to devotee example. We should never talk about the goodness we spread. There's a very powerful saying in Hindi, neki kar aur kuvein mein dal. Do good deeds and throw it in the well. Meaning that once you have done it, don't talk about it, don't repeat it, don't take credit for it. So that's the way to look at ego. And if you really go deeper, even eating food, feeling hungry, and satisfying my hunger with my taste is ego. That's why when monks or sadhus, they don't have any, they try to go beyond taste. They receive what they get and they eat in one bowl. And we could try and practice that by putting all our food in a bowl. And Bandhu only speaks about things he was able to do himself. And I don't do it anymore, but I've done that. Putting everything in one bowl, all taste and eat it. That's it. And no more helping. Just one bowl, that's it. No, let me add this or that, or let me take a little more of that. Don't. But that's only as an exercise, doesn't matter. We don't have to analyze all those things, as Bhagavan has said in talk number 21, I think, of Who Am I? Don't analyze your tattva, your elements. Yeah, just as you don't need to analyze the garbage you're about to throw. But Bandhu adds from his personal experience, as Bhagavan has given, but recognize your garbage. You must know that this goes in garbage. Otherwise, how do I know what goes in? What is my garbage? So not in life. So I hope I answered your question, Narayanji. I don't know. I mean, there are lots of other explanations to this, you know.
Yeah, I think I got that in other way. Exactly what you told us. I mean, like that's what we call like Gupta Dan. You know, donation is sacred donation. We call it sacred donation. That is why all the temples in Nepal, they call it Gupta Dan. That means don't show your donation. Just make it secretly. I think that is the best way to wash out the ego, you know.
It's a small step towards walking towards the goal. Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Because many people do many things for their own advantage. But we talked about one-on-one one time about that Swami who wouldn't appear for a satsang because the person who had organized the satsang did not know that Swami charged money. And the Swami didn't show up. He didn't show up. And there were 500 people sitting there because the person who had organized had no clue that the Swami would charge money. And then finally, she gets a call from one of the managers of this very popular Swami in the States. Swami was traveling there. And have you taken care of everything? And she said, yeah, everything is fine. We are waiting. But have you taken care of everything? Yeah, I have. No, but we didn't receive everything. So what is the agenda is not talking about spirituality. Their agenda is to continue to make money and charge money. And if you don't pay them, they don't show up. So we have to have the discrimination to absorb that, understand that. And we should not talk about these things to condemn them, but just for our learning, we take that as an example without naming them or naming any location or anything of this.
Andaji, I wanted to, what you just shared recently about the sutra that you can't find in the books about has to go back to a realized person has to go back to the reality of what is. I just wanted to kind of get the talk a little bit more about the essence of that. So were you saying, especially in your own experience, right? Because we shared it because of Francis was just sharing of how good to see you again, and we didn't think you would ever see you again, and all of this. So, it's about not the externals. You could still be in an internal state of detachment and moment, and then you can still come back to this sansara of the satsangs almost, right? Which you let go of, and you're like, we'll see you, right? What if we not, everything's constantly changing. And so to my selfish delight, it's wonderful that you're doing this again.
So I got it right.
So
let me try. Bhagwan always said that. So let me try and say whatever little clarity Bandhu has about this, that our world does not change quickly or easily, because the world is attached, connected with the body. The prarabdha is being gone through, being experienced by the body, not by the me or I inside me, the reality, the ultimate I, that I am, is not being affected by the prarabdha. So internally, I may be advancing spiritually in an intense way, and yet my sansara, my world, continues alongside me. I cannot change it. And I should not be, if I'm clear, I will not be perturbed about it, and I would still remain somewhat detached from whatever stage I am at. So for a Jivan Mukta like Bhagwan, he was totally detached from everything. There was no agenda, no selfishness. We are not there, but we, in our limited way, in our small steps, we could still be connected with our world and be still withdrawn. I can recount a dialogue that Bandhu had with the Swami once, almost 35 years back in States, where somebody had said, but Swamiji, then how was your brother or uncle or somebody or mother? And I was surprised. And Swamiji said that, I visited. And I asked him later on one-on-one, that do you still stay connected with your family? And he says, I don't, but if I was in that town, I knew they would come to know about it. And there was something that my such and such family member wanted to clarify. And I did get the message, and I said, okay, I'll go home. And he did go home. Just for half a day or a few hours, whatever. I don't know the details. But so the world will continue with us. It will not change. So Bhagwan lived amongst us as an ordinary human being. But he was a Jivan Mukta. He was not affected by anybody. In Kanchi Dham, Maharajji, right? You all know about it. Kanchi Dham, Neep Karoli Baba. He lived amongst us, talked ordinary things. Totally realized man. He would ask questions, and Bhagwan also used to ask, where are you from? What education did you have? How many family members you have? Oh, okay. So, he used to do the same. Neep Karori Baba would talk absolutely, you would feel as if he's just having a dialogue like a common man. And that's what we should be. For example, now another a critique here, not condemning anybody. There was a guy who was born in the 19th and who became one of the devotees of Ramana and started talking about Ramana, and his followers then, like Robert Spear of UK, followed him. French guy. Have you ever heard any of his videos or audios?
Yes.
And he would sit and explain things as if he's in a trance. And as a critique, totally unacceptable. Bhagwan never went in a trance talking to people. Bhagwan talked like you and I are talking right now. You're getting my point. That the world continues and we should be able to continue without being attached to it. That's all. We continue with our dialogue about self-inquiry, how the ego that keeps hiding, and how to catch my ego during the course of a day. We just talked about that, and now, before this last part we play, here's an insertion. A question came up by one of the devotees, you'll hear it soon, about critiquing something. And Bandhu started talking about how ego is vicious, and even in our good deeds, the ego is constantly attached to whatever I'm doing, whether I'm doing it with any particular selfish intent or not. Still, there is some ego attached to it which comes up. So, how to constantly be cognizant, how to be aware of that all the time. And that's what Bhagwan always told us to do. Watch it. Just watch your thoughts, watch your mind. And that will automatically make you watch your ego. And while talking about that, Bandhu kind of walked into narrating a scenario about some Swami and then another teacher of non-duality who used to speak with quite and he spoke very well. There's nothing against it. This is not a criticism of the person, but there is a little bit of a critique of his style. Sometimes in some of the interviews, he would appear, he's answering questions as if he's in a trance. And when Bandhu started that critique, Bandhu even said, without naming anybody, you would hear it. But again, here is the way our nature works, our tattvas come up. That though Bandhu paraphrased by saying, we are not going to name anybody, he yet ended up naming that person. I hope we hear it. The tape on the network was so. And then one of the devotees said, but isn't it more important that we just focus on the content of what is being said rather than on somebody's style? Absolutely. Bandhu stands corrected. Absolutely. At the same time, here is a practical live demonstration of how our basic nature will still come up. And sometimes I'll not be able to control it. In this case, Bandhu could not control naming that person because that is Bandhu's weakness. That is Bandhu's, the part of his personality, the weaker part of his personality, that he still sometimes is critical of people or critiques people. So here's a dialogue. There we go. Nothing else changes, except when we finally get merged, then we would be beyond that. Or if you don't take a human form, then the question does not arise of being connected with anybody. Is that making sense, Shweta?
Yes. Can I just respond to something you just shared? Please. So, for example, this person who sat in a trance, that was his form or vehicle, but isn't the main point if there's purity in what he's sharing versus how somebody is doing it? Because
I didn't get that part.
Whatever he's channeling, yes, Bhagwan and many other people, they were just normal and talking like this or something like this, and this person that you're sharing, went into a trance or had this look of a trance or whatever. But apart from them judging them on the
look,
the way somebody is looking or whatever. It's, to me, it's more about what is coming through them. And if that's pure and it's helping people, then for me, I don't care if they're drinking alcohol or they're looking like they're sitting as something. Maybe that's their vehicle. But the main essence for me is that whatever is coming through them is pure, and it's, if I'm resonating with it or something like that, and it's helping people, then who cares if they're sitting in a trance, looking like they're sitting in a trance.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly the just exposition of the critique Bandhu shared. Yeah, absolutely. And many people got influenced and benefited a lot. So no discounting that. One is not trying to take away anything from their whatever they had to offer. No.
Bantu, are you communicating?
But no, I personally, yeah, sorry. Francis, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I didn't mean to do that. You were breaking up, but I was wondering, are you communicating with other devotees?
Oh, thank you, Fran. No, nobody. This Nepal group came up with the idea of doing satsang. We started doing just a few months back. But I have not been communicating with anybody, Fran. Nobody.
I did miss you very much. You were there's not a lot of well, this is ego, but there's not a lot.
Is it my connection, Sujit? Because I'm not able to hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there is something.
Banduji, if you turn off your video, it will be more clear for you, because your video is taking up a lot of your bandwidth, because it's clear for the rest of us.
Oh,
we're gonna miss your face.
Fran, I didn't get it.
Let me ask again, so I missed you because as a soldier, there as a pilgrim, it's a lonely, the true walk. Again, this is all ego, all mental description, but it is a very isolated kind of walk to absolute truth. There's not a lot of folks, a lot of comrades on the path that you and I are on, right? Who am I? But we are the grace of God has this is a very special, to me, this is the greatest, this is beyond words, right? What we have tasted, the bliss, the ananda. And I was very sad when you exited, because I don't have that many confidants. I can almost clear the deck very quickly, and this is ego, right? But I can clear the deck of real devotees or of real pilgrims. And you were like one of one. You know what I mean? It was very, very difficult to lose you as a friend, as a bandhu. And I just want to say that I look at myself as a misfit in this world, even though I'm in the world and I look as if, I don't want to get into who am I, but the point really is, you were a sounding board, and I'm wondering if at some point, we can have that friendship again. We just lost you. But if not, it's okay. It's okay. But look, I can't put into words the questions I have, right? Because I just lost them.
I think if you pause, you'll be back.
There you are. So anyway, that's just.
I don't know.
Bandhu, I just wanted to ask you.
Not able to hear things clearly, but I'll hear later on.
What's that? Well, this is no worries at all. I guess that was my.
There is a loss, connection loss.
Thank you. Francis, I couldn't hear more than 70% of what you said because of the problems at my end, it seems. But I'm sure when Sujit shares the audio video, I'll be able to hear it because it's clear for all of you. So thanks for whatever you said. And again, I'm not letting, again, here, Narayanji, this somebody says something good and he immediately touches and connects with our ego. And to remind ourselves, as Francis Francis was always very, very articulate with what he was saying. He just say everything is, it's all ego, and we have to constantly watch ourselves and try and not let it affect or not let it pad my ego more, not make it thicker. Sorry, Francis.
I did not think I'd ever see you again.
I also never thought I would see anybody again.
So
but
good to see you, Uncle.
Here I am, that's all.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see you. And
it's been almost not even 2 years yet. But yeah, I also had not thought I'll be connected. And that's why I keep saying the world does not leave us that easily. And yet we will be able to see our own progress. And the world will continue to walk with us. And I couldn't find that dialogue today. It happens with me a lot of times. One time, somebody asked Bhagwan, and what will happen when I be self-realized? And Bhagwan said, your life and your world will continue exactly the way it is now. And I couldn't find it because that's also very seldom has Bhagwan paraphrased it like that for anybody. And I went through this and whatever, and I don't have all my books, so I just have, but I couldn't find it. But someday I will, hopefully it'll come up and I'll read that. It's only 2 lines, but it's so profound. Profound for us to understand how to break it down. Bhagwan didn't break it down for us. Bhagwan always said, stay with the self. You are that reality. Why are you worried? Or why do you carry your luggage in your head? Leave it to God and he'll take care of it. And we don't. Ekam aksharam hridi nirantaram bhasate swayam likhyate katham hridaya kuharmathe kevalam brahmamatram ayahamaham sakshat atmarupena bhati hridhi vishmanasat swam chinvata machatava pavana chalana rodha atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam. Hari Om, everybody. Jai Arunachala. Jai Arunachala. Answer is just one response, egotistical. I don't know how long will this last. I don't know how long will this last. Thank you.
Thank you, Bandaji.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry.
Thank you, Bandaji.
Arunachala. Arunachala.